Cheers, guys, and welcome to the big patriotic Memorial Day weekend edition of Uncle Scott's Pancast podcast. Now, why am I toasting with an Australian beer on an American holiday? We'll get to that in a few minutes. In the Pancast today, we are going to unbox some cookware and other stuff. We're going to talk Enso knives, got some food funnies, got a little update from Australia, and more. I want to start off with a screaming Memorial Day sale that I saw on Debouillet. We love Debouillet carbon steel and other cookware around here. And they're having a big Memorial Day sale running from the 23rd through the 27th. So today, Thursday through end of day, Monday. And it's going to be 15% off site-wide with a few exceptions. And I'll have links to all this stuff below and more details below. But they're also having what is being called a warehouse clearance sale. And I think some of this would really appeal to some of you guys here in this kind of hardcore niche cookware audience here. 50% off on items with damaged packaging. And if you've ever bought a Debouillet, for example, a mineral B carbon steel skillet, the packaging is a paper bag. It's going to go in the trash anyway. It has a little cardboard sleeve thing on the pan, but these typically go right in the trash. So if you find something you like, 50% off with damaged packaging, 60% off pans that have slight imperfections. And they say that means slight cosmetic imperfections on their surfaces that don't affect their functionality. And I kind of consider myself to have slight imperfections on my surface, and I'm still relatively functional myself. And 70% off on scratched pans. Now, I know that a new pan, you pay a lot of money for a fancy pan and you want it to be in perfect, pristine condition. However, one thing I have learned, I cook on a gas stove with iron grates and I use metal utensils and my pans get scratched up anyway. So I think 70% off if you don't mind a few scratches. We like the Mineral Bs a lot around here, Mineral B Pros, but if you wanted to branch out into one of the Affinities or try one of the other Debouillet lines without much risk, now would be a time to jump on that. So links to that below. And as a matter of fact, there are a lot of Memorial Day cookware sales going on. I think I will do some sort of deal roundup and put some other sales I saw below. Sur la table or table. They've got some Le Creuset stuff going on sale, and I think there's some Staub stuff for sale at Costco and more. So I'll put all that below. How about a little food funny? I was in the grocery store the other day, actually a new grocery store, and I saw this thing. This is a bread bot. You know, we used to say something would be the greatest thing since sliced bread. Maybe one day we'll say something is the greatest thing since the invention of the bread bot. And the thing, it mixes the flour and kneads the dough and puts it in a pan and on a little conveyor belt, and it goes over to the side there and it slices the bread for you. So you get fresh baked bread made by a robot. And I don't know what to think about that. On one hand, it's pretty cool, and people maybe have access to fresher baked bread than in the past. I also hope it doesn't put a lot of bakers out of business, but we now have robots baking our bread here in Utah. I also saw these packages of Kingsford meat. Now, we all pretend to be kind of armchair brand analysts around here, and when I see something like this, it really catches my eye. In my mind, Kingsford is charcoal and lighter fluid, like you see here a couple of aisles away, but they are putting their brand on prepackaged cooked meat. Does Kingsford seem like pork carnitas? It does not to me. It seems like charcoal. This may be a case of kind of vertical integration gone wild. But then I was thinking about it. You've got Traeger grills. You see the Traeger pellets. They've got the grills. And then you see the Traeger seasoning rubs. So it's kind of the same thing that Traeger's doing to an extent. I also see Weber. You get Weber grills. Weber also makes seasoning rubs. So there is some integration going on in the barbecue world that I'm not 100% sure about that. But what do you guys think? Would you try Kingsford prepackaged meat? So you might notice I am growing the beard back in. Not sure if I'm going to keep it or not. I got summertime coming up here in Utah. It might be a little bit hot and scratchy On the other hand, my wife says she really likes it. And she says it gives me the appearance of having a chin. Okay, the Fosters. Why am I drinking a Foster's beer? Because I want to give a cheers and good day to Susan and Jeff from Australia. Cheers, guys. And Jeff watched one of my paella videos, I think the one with the Garcima paella burner and pan set. He got one, and this is him using it for the first time.
G'day, Scott from Utah. This is Jeff from Australia. And I'm just going to do a little tribute show to you to show you what can happen to a fantastic paella that you described to us with some slight modifications. So the chicken has been marinated in soy, white wine, and a little bit of paprika just to give it some zing. And we're just bringing that down now with the capsicum, what you call bell peppers, we call capsicum, and a little bit of onion. We've put around about 5 cups of chicken stock in here and 2 cups of basmati rice. And as well as that, we've added a can of your favourite white beans. I know you like the rosemary, but I'm sort of more of a spring onions, or we call them spring onions here, chopped up, and we'll put them on top as we get towards the end, and we'll just check the flavour. But anyway, thanks for all of your suggestions, and next time I might follow some of them. If this doesn't taste as good as what I hope it does. See ya.
I think his paella looks absolutely delicious, and it looks like they're having a good time. And really, that's what it's all about around here. And you actually inspired me. The snow is finally melted, and we had some warmer weather. I made my first paella of the spring season this past weekend. So thanks again to Jeff and Susan in Australia. Foster's, they always said Australian for beer. As far as Australian products that I can get here in Utah, there's Foster's and Vegemite. And I went with the Foster's. And while we're talking Foster's, I don't drink it very often. I occasionally do. But here on Memorial Day weekend, not only am I toasting people in Australia, it does bring back memories. And it's a big racing weekend. I don't know if you guys are motorsports fans, but Memorial Day weekend, you've got the Monaco Grand Prix, you got the Coca-Cola 600 NASCAR race, and you've got the Indy 500 all on one day. And I've been to a lot of these races. I've been to the Indy 500 a bunch of times. And I'm just thinking back, I used to have, getting into the Memorial Day memories here, but you would have Jim Neighbors. He would come out and sing the Bring Me Home to Indiana. And you would have Florence Henderson, the mom from the Brady Bunch. She would come out and sing God Bless America. And then you would have the presentation of colors, and you'd have the national anthem, and you'd have the invocation. And then something would fly over. I think one time it was a B-2 stealth bomber. And then the older lady, I can't remember her name, is her last name, Mrs. George. I can't remember. But she would come out with the "Gentlemen, start your engines." And it was just patriotic and memorial. And I just have fond memories of that. Some people I've been with before are no longer with us. I was actually there in 2005 when Dan Weldon won the race. And a few years later, he was killed in another racing incident. So it is life and death. And it's patriotic and it's emotional, and have fond memories of going to the Indy 500. And I also remember, I think Foster's was a sponsor the few times I went, and just have fond memories of sitting in the sun and watching cars drive around and sipping on a beer while someone else does all the hard work. Are you guys cooking out for Memorial Day weekend? I think I am going to do maybe ribs on Friday, and then maybe a pork butt on Saturday. And then Sunday, I haven't decided yet, maybe either a paella or some pizzas. I got this guy in. This is an Ooni pizza oven. My wife actually bought it for me for Christmas, and it got up to be mid-February, early March. And she said, "I got you that nice pizza oven. Why haven't you used it yet?" And I said, "Well, there's a foot of snow on the back deck, and as much as I love pizza, I'm not going to stand out in a blizzard and cook one." It's finally warmed up enough here in Utah, and I've been using it for a couple weeks now. I've made 8 pizzas in it so far, And it seems to be very high quality, very easy to put together, it gets screaming hot, well over 900 degrees back by the burner. But I am on the learning curve with the pizzas. The first round, 3 out of 4 slid off the peel. One of them didn't. Ouch. And they turned out okay, I gotta say. This past weekend I made some more pizzas and they all slid off of the pizza peel. That's a good thing there. But I'm having a little bit of trouble getting them to cook perfectly. So I'm still learning on this Ooni. Have you guys used an Ooni? What do you think about these backyard pizza ovens? I gotta say, so far, we have a baking steel, and I used a baking steel in our regular home oven, and it only gets up around 500 degrees. But that thing actually makes really, really good pizzas. And so far, the learning curve was a lot easier with that baking steel than with the Ooni. With the Ooni, it has an L-shaped burner in the back there, and there are kind of 3 different heat zones. It's much hotter in that back corner, and then kind of a moderate zone in the middle, and a little cooler towards the front. You get the pizza to slide off in there. The Ooni directions say to rotate the pizza so that you are moving the pizza around so every part of it gets a chance to be near that hot spot. The problem is, they say to rotate every 20 to 30 seconds. The pizza does not set up fast enough in 20 to 30 seconds to really rotate it without tearing it. And then I was getting kind of one corner burned, and then I would try and rotate it and it would kind of stick in the middle. So I'm still learning. The thing I came up with to do, and I don't know if this is a good procedure or not, I would stick the peel underneath the pizza, take the pizza out, rotate it on the peel, then stick it back in. And that seemed to work a little bit better. And these are looking a little bit better, but still not Neapolitan pizzeria quality by any means so far. The good thing about a learning curve with a pizza oven, though, is you get to make a lot more pizzas while you learn. Bird flu. Oh, one more thing to worry about. Apparently some cattle have been infected with bird flu, and the question that came up is there bird flu in ground beef? And whether there is or not, the CDC put out some guidelines and says if you cook it properly, it should kill off any bird flu. Now, should you be cooking a bird flu infected chicken? CDC says get the food up to 165 Fahrenheit for poultry. Hamburger, obviously ground beef. They said to get that up to 160 degrees. And then whole cuts, which I would assume includes steaks, they say to get the internal temperature up to 145, then let them rest for 3 minutes. On that, my steaks, I like to take my steak out of the oven, off the grill, when it gets up to about 126, 127 internally. I let it rest and it comes up to 132, 133. And I don't know if that's going to be good enough to kill bird flu should it break out in cattle. We'll have to see. Maybe I'll have to switch to a shoe leather steak, beef jerky, well done type person. I hope not, though. All right, the Enso SG2 prep knife I showed in a previous Pancast. I've really been enjoying using this guy. I came to realize, though, that I don't have or didn't have a knife sharpener that would work with this knife. This has a 12-degree blade, and I've got a Chef's Choice electric sharpener, and that's several years old, and got that when I was using mostly Western knives, 20 degrees there. I've got some Kramers and some other stuff that went to 15 degrees, kind of that Asian, normal Asian blade angle. I've got some of these whetstones, but I really don't like using these. They're kind of a mess, and I'm never sure if I'm doing it correctly. And this guy is a 12-degree blade angle, and I didn't have a knife sharpener that would work just for him, so I got this guy in. We'll be taking a look at this guy in a future Pancast. This is a Yaxle 3-stage sharpener, and importantly, it has a slot for 12-degree blades. So the advice here is if you get some Japanese cutlery with 12-degree blades, make sure you got some way to sharpen it. Also, really enjoying that Teakhaus cutting board that I showed in previous videos. It's working really well so far. Very heavy and sturdy, and a really good-looking cutting board, I gotta say. Speaking of using knives, let's take our Enso prep knife and see if we can unbox some cookware. And I'm not sure which order these are in, so I'll see here in real time. that 12-degree blade angle really does a job on packing tape. See what we got here. Ah, Staub. This should be an enameled cast iron frying pan. I've got a lot of Staub Dutch ovens and baking dishes. This is my first Staub enameled cast iron frying pan. Went with yellow. Pretty cool. And with Staub, you always get the little colors of the French flag on there. And we'll be taking a look at this guy in an upcoming video. Next up, now that I know that one was a Staub, I know what this next one is. This is going to be this is a Strata pan. If you heard a previous Pancast with Jed from Cook Culture and I talking about Strata pans, they were a Kickstarter company, and they're making a carbon steel lined pan with, I think, an aluminum core and a stainless steel exterior. And I bought one, and I have to apologize. I bought this 2 months ago, and I'm just now opening it up. There's a sticky note on the box that says, "Congrats, you are our first sale." So that is pretty cool. So this is the first Strata pan ever sold, I guess. Kind of historic. Here it is. Let me see if I can get it out of the bag here. And I think what they were going for, and with their Kickstarter campaign, is obviously to raise money to make the pans, but the design of their pan, they were going for lighter weight. So this, it is a lightweight pan. So it's a clad carbon steel frying pan. This is the 10-inch one, and it says the cladding layers, carbon steel top layer, 2mm aluminum core, and then a stainless steel exterior. So that is very interesting. And I can feel a little bit of a protective coat on there, seems like. So I'm going to season this guy, and that's what carbon steel looks like when it's new, bright and shiny. And we'll do some cooking. I noticed that when Jed got his Strata pan, his first egg stuck after he seasoned it. I'm going to see if I can get my first egg to slide, and then I'll give Jed a little bit of grief about that. But Strata, we'll be taking a look at this guy soon. And these, I don't think these are pans, but it is kitchen stuff. I put all of our measuring cups in the dishwasher, and my wife has been on me because the dishwasher washed all the print off of our measuring cups, so I ordered some replacements. And let's see what we've got here. And if this knife didn't need to be sharpened before, after cutting a lot of cardboard, it's going to need to be. Beaker style measuring cup. And I've also got some, these are Anchor Hocking. I bought a set of these guys. This is the Anchor Hocking set. Got a big one. And it's got a little small one. And a couple of smaller ones too. Pretty standard measuring cups. What I want to do with these beaker style though is see if they're a little less messy. And I'm not going to do that right here, right now. But a lot of times when you pour liquid out of one of these measuring cups, sometimes it can run down the side. I'm going to see if the beaker ones actually work a little bit better. Actually, let's try that right now. Should never do things in real time, but it's merely a Pancast. Let's see. All right, regular. Let's see if it... Not too bad. This one actually works better than my previous models. I'm not sure what brand the previous ones were. Here's the beaker. I think the beaker is slightly smoother. Let's try a different one. That's pretty good, I gotta say. No spilling. So I'd say these Anchor Hawkins actually pour pretty nicely and much better than my previous measuring cups. I do like the beaker ones as well. And I do like these little beaker ones as well. Maybe a little more precise for smaller measurements. Let's see, I put up a video on how to clean rust off of carbon steel skillets. Doug Gold 7582 wrote in and said, for heavy rust such as garage sale finds, use electrolysis with a sodium carbonate solution. I know people do this, and especially with cast irons, they find these pans and they restore them and they have electrolyte baths and all that. I just cannot bring myself to do that. It just takes too long and it's too much effort. I don't mind cleaning a little bit of rust off of carbon steel and reseasoning, but as far as, you know, hours and days of work to get some of these pans restored, I understand it's a hobby for a lot of people, but I think I'm just a little bit too lazy, especially if you can get a new Lodge for 20, 30 bucks. It's a lot easier sometimes than the electrolysis bath. I put up a paella pan video the other day. George Pagakis 9854 wrote in. It's a nice video. He agrees with me about the stainless steel paella pan and wanted to know if I've had any warping with that pan. The paella pans I have are naturally cupped. They have kind of a lower area in the middle, and I think that's on purpose to get some of the liquid and especially the oil to kind of collect in the middle, especially when you're frying, and you can have a hotter zone where you've got hot oil and food there in the middle and a little bit cooler zone out towards the edge. So mine are not flat to begin with, but I have not noticed any undue warping. Let's see, Paulie ANG 748 wrote in and asked me to do a review of a Matfer 17-inch paella pan. He's thinking about getting one. I'm going to throw out a word of caution on 17-inch pans. They are humongous, and they really don't work well if you're going to use them on your stovetop. You end up having to move the pan around. Most stoves don't have the burner coverage for that wide of a pan. I would only go up to a 17 if you're going to cook paella on a grill or on a dedicated paella burner. But I do not have that Matfer, but maybe I can get one down the road. I put up a video on making a tian. I should have called it a weeknight tian. El Panya, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, says, as a French, I'd recommend slicing the vegetables even thinner for faster cooking and nicer layering. And Isabel 6851 wrote in and said it wasn't your traditional tian, but it looks great. I should have called that a weeknight tian. Now we do have a mandolin slicer, and if I want to be really fancy and really precise, we'll get out that mandolin slicer and have everything uniform and even. For kind of the weeknight tian, I don't think it matters that much, and I was really looking forward to doing some chopping on that Teakhaus cutting board and using this new Enso SG2 prep knife. And that's one of the reasons I made the tian that way. But yes, definitely, if you're going to be showing it off to a lot of people, which I guess technically I was on the internet, I could have made my vegetables a little bit more uniform. I also used cherry tomatoes or small grape tomatoes, and I like those better than slicing up a bigger tomato. And I like kind of just sticking those in along with some full cloves of garlic. And I think that works better. The thinly sliced bigger tomatoes seem to get a little bit mushy for me in my tians. Speaking of Matfer and the carbon steel pan recall controversy still going on, I noticed they put up a dedicated recall information page on their site the other day. So that's good they put that up. They answered some questions on the website, and I think some of those questions came from us here at Uncle Scott's Kitchen, which is kind of cool. Now, I'm not a Matfer apologist. I'm not here to attack or defend. I'm here just to figure out what's going on and make sure everybody has accurate information. I will reiterate, though, with this whole recall issue, that Matfer is adamant that their pans are safe and that they passed all the EU and French guidelines, and that the local regional government that kind of issued the recall, they are appealing that recall ruling and say that that testing method was in error. So they're adamant that their pans are safe. And I expect more information to be coming, but I note that they're dealing with that regional government, the French government, the European Union, and now maybe the United States government. I don't expect things to move at lightning speed when you're working with 4 governments. I know just going to the DMV, that takes a while. And just for some perspective here, I mentioned it in a different Pancast, but here in Utah, there's a certain amount of arsenic in our drinking water. Then I saw this article the other day. There's arsenic and uranium in our household air here in Utah. So these harmful things are around. I think the big deal is going to be making sure that they are below whatever the supposedly healthy tolerance limits are. Now, it's still kind of an ongoing situation. I've been satisfied with what I have heard so far. I know America's Test Kitchen, they've announced they're doing some testing, so it'll be interesting to see what they have to say. But I just reiterate once again, I haven't done independent testing myself, but Matfer is adamant that their pans are safe and they pass independent tests for the EU and France. Let's see, Mike Gale, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, 1739 wrote in, and again says I am mispronouncing Staub. I don't think I'm mispronouncing Staub. Some people say Staub, but the videos I've seen with the original family, talking about the original family over in France, they say Staub. So I am sticking with Staub until proven otherwise. He also says he works in the restaurant industry, and they use a lot of the stoves in the restaurant there, and he's delegated Le Creuset to home use. He says, brand flash doesn't cut the mustard in a commercial kitchen. I'm going to agree with that. And I'm going to throw something out here, though. I've never worked in a commercial kitchen. I've never worked in a restaurant, but I can understand how back of the house restaurant operations functionality probably trumps everything else. Here in a home, though, I think brand and looks, they are all factors. We all have fancy kitchens in our houses, and we like nice cookware, and sometimes looks and brand. They don't trump functionality. The pans still have to perform. They still have to cook delicious food, of course. That's the most important thing. But on top of that, I think when you got a fancy kitchen and you want nice stuff in it, the brands and the looks of the cookware do factor in as well. I like nice stuff in my kitchen. Okay, I hope you have a happy Memorial Day weekend. I hope you cook out or cook something delicious with your family and friends. Check out those sales links below the video. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time on Uncle Scott's Pancast.